As a medical student in Oxford, most of the work was carried out in the science area, where students of like discipline from all the colleges congregated each day to pore over a dead body or carry out some other requirement of the preclinical curriculum, that is, the period of study before they see patients. People ask why doctors only marry doctors or nurses, and the answer is that they never meet anyone else. If you are a doctor reading this and are married to an advertising executive, mole hunter, or surf instructor, please do not write to me. I was making what we in the medical profession call a generalization. There was little chance of finding a spouse in college in 1966, even if your studies were based there, because they were all single-sex colleges and your choice of partner was therefore limited. Even if you were gay, you would not be able to find a spouse, because this was long before the period of civil marriages for same-sex couples. Moreover, homosexuality did not become legal until 1967, so if a gay man went to college in 1966, his first year would have been one of either sex-starved puritanism or happy criminality. Preclinical study essentially involves the working of the normal body before it goes wrong, which is when you have to know something about medicine. One of the most well-known fields to a layperson is anatomy, and in particular, the special requirement to dissect a human body. Although most bodies were bequeathed to medical research and study, we did not really know at the time how they came to be there, and it added to the considerable mystique of the whole exercise not to find out. Lack of knowledge allows the imagination to run wild, and it becomes great fun to speculate by quite which process the body came to be lying in front of you. That speculation becomes even more acute when you learn that in the 19th century there was a shortage of bodies for an anatomical dissection, leading to grave robbery, and, in the case of the infamous pair, Burke and Hare, murder and the sale of the bodies to Edinburgh Medical School. I believe that the material used for our dissection was obtained by more ethical means, or at least nobody told me to the contrary. It is not certain how valuable was the whole dissection exercise. Specifically, it's very unclear how much it taught us about anatomy. Judging by our knowledge of anatomy at the time of the relevant examinations, the benefit was slight indeed. However, the possibility cannot be excluded that vast swathes of information were embedded into memory by the exercise, only to be rapidly eradicated by the fumes of formaldehyde used to preserve the bodies. In truth, these fumes were quite powerful irritants to the eyes, nose, and probably any other delicate membrane with which they made contact. One student resorted to wearing a man's handkerchief tied across her face like a yashmak. Another protected her nostrils with wads of cotton wool, so large that they protruded prominently onto her upper lip. A third wore swimming goggles, a not-so-fashion accessory that unfortunately earned her the epithet Goggles Georgina. I suppose on reflection that it could have been formaldehyde that caused her later madness, or maybe it was the madness that led to her alternative dress code. Who knows? Ask a doctor. Part of the reason I believe that we learnt very little anatomy from dissection is that it was quite difficult to find and identify what you were looking for. We had a mildly helpful instruction manual. We also had a useless supervisor, usually a postgraduate student making money on the side. His whole assistance in helping us to find the clitoris during the bit of dissection that dealt with the genitalia was to inform us that we could no doubt find it in the dark. Even if that were true, it does not necessarily follow you could find it in the light, because touch and vision are quite separate sensory systems, as I learnt in first year physiology. Only the exams seemed to put a damper on things. Somehow, something worked, because Oxford examiners are not known for their generosity, and our crew, at least, got through. Some employed specialist techniques to gain success. In his anatomy viva, one student was given a clavicle, a collarbone, and told to position it in the orientation that it would exist in the normal human body. He told us afterwards that he held the bone at its ends between his two hands and very slowly rotated it in 3 dimensions until he was told by the examiner that he had got it right. Knowing the student as I did, the story was probably completely fabricated. And anyway, I cannot see how that technique would have helped him in most of the written papers. Turning a pen round and round between the 2 hands, whilst deep in thought, may be a common sight in examination rooms, but I cannot believe that it helps to produce a good written answer.